Good morning. Yesterday we thought about a very simple thing. We remembered that we have physical bodies. Physical bodies, I said, with six senses. Today, I just want to take you one step further. And I want to remind you as well as bodies, we have minds. We don't quite know how the brain does it, but it actually creates a feeling of self-awareness. It receives all these electrical impulses, and then it creates an idea of identity. And you have an identity. You know who you are. Oh yes, you give names. Given names probably by your parents. But there seems to be an awareness of the world, which is almost separate from the physical impulses that we are receiving. You can almost create a fantasy world, if you want to, around yourself. You can sit back and daydream. You can create images for yourself. We have the ability to see and to hear in a different way from that which is physical. And as we think about the world in which we live, we can begin to see ourselves as not just creatures living in the world, but we can see ourselves as part of families, and we can see our families as part of nations, and we can see the nations as part of the community of humanity throughout the world. We can begin to understand this. And as we look at the world and we look outwards towards the stars, we can see that this world is just part of a solar system. And the solar system is just one of billions throughout this galaxy. And then our minds go even further and we can begin to see that this galaxy is only one of billions of galaxies. We can almost begin to see our smallness as we begin to see the greatness of the universe around us. We can not just do this. We're not just looking outwards to the world. We can look inwards. And we can begin to realize with our minds that, in fact, our bodies are made up of many different cells. And as we ask the scientists to show us how these cells work, we can begin to understand that they're the most complex of organisms. Even the tiniest cell is made up of such layers upon layers upon layers, which all be almost beyond our understanding. We are, in fact, fearfully and wonderfully made. And as we stop and think about our bodies, and as we wonder in our minds, suddenly a thought, I'm sure, will come to us. And we'll ask ourselves quite simply, where did I truly come from? And where am I going to? What is my past? And what is my future? Now, in this century, as in a large part of the last century, we have been subject to a lie. Yes, to a lie. Humanity, trying to understand who we are and what we are, came to a conclusion that somehow our whole lives are accidental. There's just something which has happened, and gradually, through a process which is known as evolution, we have come into being. I say it's a lie, quite simply because as you look at it honestly, you realize there is no truth in it. It may be an explanation, but the explanation does not fit in with the facts. Let us think for a moment, not of the universe out there that we're a part of, but of the smallest part of each one of us, the very cells of our body. You know, if you go into that cell, you'll find in the cell there is a nucleus that controls that cell. If you examine the nucleus, you'll find it is more and more complex than anybody ever dreamt of when they thought about the theory of evolution at the first place. You see, the idea behind evolution is that one day there was nothing, and then by some physical accident, suddenly amino acids came together to create a form of life. But as you look at the structure of the cell, you have to realize that somehow in ways we can never understand, this must have been designed. There is design behind it, as there is design in the whole universe around us. We are surrounded by design. And of course, where there is design, then somehow, in some way, there must be a designer. Somehow, in some way, there must be a designer. If you have a watch, I'm not sure, probably many of you do, just think about it for a moment. And I want to tell you a simple theory. At one moment, there were little bits of plastic, little bits of glass, little bits of metal, all these little things, and a lightning bolt just struck it. And suddenly, instead of all different little bits and pieces, it came out as a watch. Doesn't make sense, does it? Yet I can assure you that the human cell in the body is far, far, far more complex than your watch. You could not accept that the fact that your watch was not designed. So now I leave you this thought as well. You too have been designed. Amen.